My wife said I was worthless. Then she found out I was her new CEO. Even in that. Nunuvin. So the man ceased believing in her. She stopped believing in. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you kept it believing you? Even after they stopped believing in you. I did. My name is Noah Parker, and for 8 years I loved my wife Olivia with everything I had. When we first met, we had nothing but dreams. We rented a tiny apartment with old furniture, shared one used car, and counted every dollar before paying the bills. But none of that mattered. We believed we were building a future together. At least, that's what I thought. As the years passed, our lives began to change. Olivia was ambitious. She worked hard and quickly climbed the corporate ladder at one of the largest technology companies in the city. Every promotion made her more confident, and I was genuinely proud of her. Whenever she celebrated a new achievement, I was the first person cheering for her. I cooked dinner, bought flowers, left little notes on the kitchen table reminding her how proud I was. Her success felt like our success. But slowly something between us began to change. I had chosen a different path. Instead of staying in a secure corporate job, I left to build a small business consulting startup with 2 friends. The beginning was difficult. Some months we barely made enough money to cover expenses. Clients came and went. Investors said no more times than I could count. But I never gave up. I believed that one day, all the sacrifices would be worth it. Olivia didn't see it that way. To her, I wasn't chasing a dream. I was chasing an illusion. One evening, after another long day, I came home carrying a bag of groceries. Olivia was sitting on the couch, staring at her laptop. Without looking up, she asked, "So, did your little business finally make any money today?" I forced a smile. "We signed a new client." She laughed softly. "One client isn't going to change your life." I placed the groceries on the counter. "It's a start." She closed her laptop. "Noah, when are you going to accept reality? You need a real job." Her words stung. Not because she was angry, because she sounded disappointed. Over the next few months, the comments became more frequent. Whenever something went wrong, it somehow became my fault. If the washing machine broke, it must be nice having time to deal with things like this. If she had a stressful day at work, I wish I had the luxury of working whenever I wanted. Sometimes she didn't even realize how much her words hurt. Other times, I think she did. One Saturday, Olivia invited several coworkers to our apartment. I spent the afternoon cooking, cleaning, setting the table. I wanted everything to be perfect. When everyone arrived, the conversation quickly turned to careers. One coworker smiled at Olivia. "So, what does your husband do?" Before I could answer, Olivia laughed. "He's still trying to make his startup work." The room grew quiet. Another coworker asked politely, "How's it going?" Olivia shrugged. "Let's just say, I'm the one paying most of the bills." Several people gave uncomfortable smiles. I felt my face grow warm. For the first time in my life, I felt embarrassed inside my own home. That night, after everyone left, I quietly washed the dishes. Olivia walked into the kitchen. "You've been quiet." "I'm just tired." She crossed her arms. "You know I was only joking." I looked at her. It didn't feel like a joke. She sighed. "No, I'm just being honest. I can't keep pretending everything is fine." I nodded slowly. "I understand." But deep inside, I realized something heartbreaking. The woman who once believed in my dreams had stopped believing in me. A few weeks later, my business partners called an emergency meeting. When I arrived, they were already waiting. Emma smiled nervously. "We've received an offer." "What kind of offer?" She slid a folder across the table. "One of the largest investment firms in the country wanted to buy our company." I stared at the numbers. They were far beyond anything I had imagined. "This can't be real." "It is," my other partner replied. "But there's more." I looked up. "They don't just want the company. They want you." "What do you mean?" "The parent corporation is looking for a new CEO. They've spent months reviewing leaders from inside and outside the company. They believe you're the right person." For a moment, I couldn't speak. The corporation's name sounded familiar, very familiar. I looked at the folder again. Then my heart skipped a beat. It was the same company where Olivia had worked for years. The same company where she had climbed the corporate ladder. The same company where she believed she was getting closer to senior leadership. If I accepted the position, I wouldn't just be joining the company. I would become her CEO. I leaned back in my chair. Life had a strange sense of timing. Just days after my own wife had called me worthless, fate had placed an unbelievable opportunity in front of me. I looked at my partners and smiled. "I think it's time to accept the meeting." Little did I know, neither Olivia nor I were prepared for what would happen next. My wife said I was worthless. Then she found out I was her new CEO, the offer that changed everything the following Monday. I walked into the headquarters of Orion Technologies for the first time. The building was even more impressive than I had imagined. Glass walls reflected the morning sunlight. Employees hurried through the lobby carrying laptops and coffee cups. Everyone looked focused. Everyone looked busy. I took a deep breath. Just a few weeks ago, I had been wondering how I would pay the next business expense. Now, I was here because one of the biggest companies in the country wanted me to become its next CEO. Life can change faster than we ever expect. A woman in a navy blue suit greeted me with a smile. Good morning, Parker. I'm Rachel Collins from the board of directors. It's a pleasure to finally meet you. The pleasure is mine. She led me to the executive conference room. Inside, 6 board members were already waiting. The chairman stood up and shook my hand. We've been following your work for the past 3 years. I looked surprised. My work? He smiled. Your startup. We've watched how you turned a struggling idea into a profitable business. You built a company with honesty, innovation, and respect. That's exactly the kind of leadership we're looking for. For the next 2 hours, we discussed everything, the company's future, its challenges, its culture, my leadership style. When the meeting finally ended, the chairman looked around the room before speaking. The board has reached a unanimous decision. He smiled. Would like to offer you the position of Chief Executive Officer. For a moment, the room disappeared. I remembered every sleepless night, every rejected proposal, every person who told me to quit, every time Olivia called my dream unrealistic. And now, the impossible had become real. I accepted the offer, not because of the title, not because of the salary, but because I believed I could help thousands of employees build a better future. As I signed the agreement, Rachel smiled. Welcome to Orion Technologies, Mr. Parker. Before leaving, I asked one question. When will the announcement be made? The chairman replied, next Monday. We're keeping everything confidential until then. I nodded. That meant no one inside the company, including Olivia, knew a new CEO had already been chosen. That evening, I arrived home as usual. Olivia was sitting at the dining table, reading emails on her tablet. Without looking up, she asked, how was your day? It was productive, she nodded. I had another meeting with senior management. I think they're finally considering me for a director position. I smiled sincerely. That's great. She looked at me. I just wish you had something exciting happening in your career too. I almost laughed. If only she knew. For the next few days, I continued acting as though nothing had changed. I still made breakfast, still drove our old car, still listened whenever Olivia talked about work. Every evening she complained about the uncertainty inside the company. No one knows who the new CEO will be. I hope it's someone experienced. I don't want another executive who doesn't understand the business. I quietly replied, I hope you get someone who values people. She smiled. So do I. Friday afternoon my phone rang. It was Rachel. We have one small request. What is it? The board would like you to attend Monday morning wearing a simple business suit. I laughed. I think I can manage that. And one more thing. Yes. Would like your arrival to remain a surprise? I understand. Over the weekend, I thought about telling Olivia the truth. Several times, I almost did. But every time I picked up the phone or walked into the room, I stopped. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted her to see me without assumptions. To judge me by my actions instead of the image she had created in her mind. Sunday night, Olivia carefully prepared her clothes for work. This is an important day tomorrow, she said. The entire company will meet the new CEO. I smiled. I'm sure it will be memorable. She laughed. I just hope he isn't another businessman who thinks he's better than everyone else. I looked at her for a moment, then quietly replied, I hope he's someone who remembers what it's like to struggle. She nodded without realizing how personal those words really were. Monday morning arrived. I left home earlier than usual. Olivia noticed, big meeting today. She smiled jokingly. You finally found a real job. I smiled back. You could say that. She laughed, kissed me on the cheek, and walked toward her car. Neither of us said another word. An hour later, I entered Orion Technologies through the executive entrance. Rachel greeted me. The board is waiting. I adjusted my tie and followed her down the hallway. Behind the auditorium doors, hundreds of employees, including Olivia, were waiting to meet their new CEO. None of them knew who was about to walk onto that stage. And in just a few minutes, Olivia's entire world was about to change. My wife said I was worthless. Then she found out I was her new CEO. The CEO no one expected. The auditorium was filled with excitement. Hundreds of employees sat in neat rows, whispering to one another. Everyone had the same question. Who would become the company's new CEO? Some believed it would be an executive from another corporation. Others thought the board would promote someone from inside the company. No one knew the answer. Not even Olivia. She sat with her department, chatting with her coworkers. I heard the new CEO has an incredible business background, one colleague said. Olivia smiled. I just hope he understands how this company works. Another coworker laughed. Maybe he'll finally fix some of the problems around here. Olivia nodded. I hope so. She had no idea that the person they were talking about was only a few steps away. Backstage, Rachel handed me a microphone, nervous. I smiled. A little. That's a good sign. It means you care. She adjusted my jacket. The board believes in you. So do your future employees. I took a deep breath. I won't let them down. The lights dimmed. The chairman of the board walked onto the stage. Good morning, everyone. The room filled with applause. Today marks the beginning of an exciting new chapter for Orion Technologies. He spoke about the company's growth, its future, and the importance of strong leadership. Then he paused. It is now my honor to introduce the person who will lead this company into its next chapter. The audience became completely silent. Backstage, Rachel smiled. It's time, I nodded. As I stepped onto the stage, the spotlight followed me. The applause began immediately. Then, almost as quickly, it stopped. Employees stared at me with confused expressions. Olivia looked toward the stage. At first, she smiled politely. Then her smile disappeared. Her eyes widened. She leaned forward in her chair. No, she whispered. The chairman smiled proudly. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our new Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Noah Parker. The room erupted into applause. Many employees stood to their feet. Board members smiled. Executives welcomed me with handshakes. Only one person remained completely frozen, Olivia. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. I walked to the center of the stage. For a brief moment, I looked across the audience. Our eyes met. She looked shocked, confused, almost frightened. I could tell she was replaying every conversation we'd had over the past year. Every joke, every hurtful comment, every time she had called my dream unrealistic. Then I turned toward the microphone. Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to stand before you today. I know leadership isn't about titles. It's about earning trust. And trust is built through honesty, respect, and hard work. The audience listened carefully. I didn't begin my journey in a large office. I started with one laptop, a tiny apartment-wise, and a dream that many people believed would never succeed. Several employees nodded. I've experienced rejection. I've heard people tell me to give up. But every challenge taught me something valuable. Never let someone else's opinion define your future. The auditorium filled with applause. After the speech, employees gathered around to congratulate me. Congratulations, Mr. Parker. We're excited to work with you. Welcome to Orion. I thanked each of them personally. I wanted everyone to know that every employee mattered, no matter their position. Across the room, Olivia remained standing exactly where she was. She looked as though she wanted to walk toward me, but couldn't. Finally, after most people had left, she slowly approached. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I looked at her gently. Good morning. She struggled to find the right words. I didn't know. I know. You never told me? I smiled sadly. You never asked how my business was really doing. She lowered her eyes. For the first time since we were married, she had no answer. Rachel walked over. Mr. Parker, the executive meeting begins in 10 minutes. I'll be there. She smiled politely at Olivia before walking away. Olivia looked at me again. Meg. She almost laughed at how strange the word sounded. I guess I should get used to saying that. I smiled. At work I'm your CEO. At home. I paused. I'm still your husband. Those words seemed to hurt her more than anything else. Because she suddenly realized something. I had never stopped treating her with love. She had simply stopped treating me with respect. As I walked toward the executive floor, I didn't feel proud. I didn't feel victorious. I felt disappointed, not because of the past, but because success had finally made someone see the value they should have recognized long before. Respect should never depend on a job title, or a paycheck, or a position. It should be given because of character. And that was the lesson Olivia was only beginning to understand. My wife said I was worthless. Then she found out I was her new CEO. The hard truth: the first week passed quickly. As the new CEO, my schedule was packed from morning until evening. Department reviews, client presentations, long-term planning. Every hour brought another responsibility. But despite everything on my calendar, one thing stayed on my mind. Olivia. Not because she worked for the company, because she was still my wife. And the silence between us at home had become impossible to ignore. That Friday evening, we sat across from each other at the dinner table. For several minutes, neither of us spoke. Finally, Olivia broke the silence. I owe you an apology. I looked up. She continued. I spent years believing your dream would fail. I laughed at your business. I made you feel small. The tears filled her eyes. I didn't realize how much I hurt you. I took a slow breath. It was never about the business. She looked confused. It was about respect. You stopped believing in me long before you knew whether I'd succeed. She lowered her head. I know. And I'm ashamed of it. The following Monday, I held my first leadership meeting with all department managers. Olivia was there along with dozens of other employees. As everyone entered the conference room, I greeted each person the same way. Good morning. Thank you for being here. No one received special treatment. No one was ignored. When Olivia entered, I smiled politely. "Good morning, Miss Parker." She nodded. "Good morning, Mr. Parker." The room became quiet for a moment. Everyone knew we were married, but everyone also saw that professionalism came first. During the meeting, employees shared ideas for improving the company. Some suggestions were excellent, others needed work. Whenever someone spoke, I listened carefully. Near the end of the meeting, Olivia presented a proposal for improving customer support. She explained her ideas confidently. When she finished, I smiled. "Excellent presentation. The strategy is well researched. I'd like your department to begin developing it." She looked surprised. "Thank you." There was no favoritism, but there was fairness. Several employees later told her they appreciated seeing that every good idea was judged on its quality, not on who presented it. That afternoon, rumors began spreading through the office. Some employees assumed Olivia would receive fast promotions because she was married to the CEO. Others believed she would receive special treatment. To stop the gossip, I sent a company-wide message. Our success depends on fairness. No employee, including members of my own family, will receive advantages because of personal relationships. Every promotion will continue to be based on performance, integrity, and teamwork. The message spread through the office within minutes. Employees appreciated it. More importantly, they trusted it. That evening, Olivia knocked on my office door after everyone had gone home. "Do you have a minute?" "Of course." She stepped inside. "I wanted to thank you." "For what?" "You treated me exactly like everyone else." I smiled. "That's how leadership should work." She looked around my office. "I used to think success changed people." I shook my head. "It doesn't. It only reveals who they already are." She remained silent. Then she whispered, "I wish I had understood that sooner." A few days later, Maya, one of my former business partners, now a senior executive in the company, joined me for lunch. She smiled. I laughed quietly. "Complicated." "I can imagine." She paused before asking, "Do you still love her?" I looked out the window. "Wes, but love without respect can't survive forever." Maya nodded. "I hope she realizes what she almost lost." "So do I." The weeks passed, and Olivia slowly began changing. She no longer spoke to people with arrogance. She thanked coworkers for their help. She stayed late to mentor new employees. She even apologized privately to several colleagues she had once ignored. People noticed the difference. One afternoon, her manager stopped by my office. "I just wanted you to know something." "What is it?" "Olivia has become one of the most supportive people on the team." I smiled. "That's good to hear. It seems she's learning what leadership really means." That night, as Olivia and I walked home together, she suddenly stopped. "No." "Yes. I used to think your value depended on your salary." She wiped away a tear. "I was completely wrong. You were already successful." I looked at her. "How?" "You never gave up. You stayed kind even when I wasn't. You believed in me long after I stopped believing in you." For the first time in years, she wasn't talking to a CEO. She was talking to the man she had fallen in love with. And I realized something. The biggest promotion either of us could ever receive was becoming a better person. My wife said I was worthless. Then she found out I was her new CEO. The choice that changed everything. A few months passed. Life slowly found a new rhythm. At the office, things had never been better. The company continued to grow, employees were motivated, and several exciting projects were underway. At home, things were different. Not perfect, but different. Olivia had changed in ways I never expected. She no longer measured people by their job titles or salaries. She listened more. She complained less. And for the first time in years, she thanked me for the little things I had always done. One evening, I came home after a long meeting. As soon as I opened the front door, I noticed something unusual. The dining table was beautifully set. Candles were lit. My favorite meal was waiting. Olivia walked out of the kitchen with a nervous smile. "I wanted to surprise you." I smiled. "You didn't have to do all this." "I know. I wanted to." We sat down together. For the first time in a long time, dinner wasn't filled with silence. We laughed, shared stories from work, talked about old memories. It almost felt like the early days of our marriage. After dinner, Olivia handed me a small envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a handwritten letter. She watched quietly as I read. The letter said, "Dear Noah, for years, I thought success meant having the best job, the biggest office, and the highest salary. I was so focused on climbing the corporate ladder that I forgot the most important person walking beside me. You believed in your dreams even when I didn't. You treated me with love even when I treated you with disappointment. I can't change the past, but I promise to become a better wife and a better person. Whether you're a CEO or not, you're the man I should have appreciated from the very beginning. I'm truly sorry. With love, Olivia." When I finished reading, I looked up. She had tears in her eyes. So she whispered, "Can you forgive me?" I stood up, walked around the table, and hugged her. "I already have." She held me tightly. "I don't deserve your kindness." I smiled. "Maybe not. but everyone deserves the chance to grow. The following week, the company announced its annual Leadership Excellence Award. Managers from every department submitted nominations. The human resources team reviewed them carefully. On the day of the ceremony, I stood on the stage to present the award. When the envelope was handed to me, I smiled. The Leadership Excellence Award goes to... I paused. Olivia Parker. The audience erupted into applause. Olivia looked completely shocked. She slowly walked to the stage. As she accepted the award, she whispered, "Did you choose me?" I smiled. "No. The employees did." She looked at the audience. Many of her coworkers were standing and applauding. Some even had tears in their eyes. It wasn't because she was the CEO's wife. It was because they had witnessed her transformation. She had earned their respect. After the ceremony, several employees gathered around her. "You've become an amazing leader. Thank you for always helping us. We've learned so much from you." As I watched from across the room, I realized something. Real success isn't measured by how high you climb. It's measured by how many people you lift with you. That evening, Olivia and I took a walk through the city park. The sun was beginning to set. Everything felt peaceful. She smiled. "You know what? If someone had told me a year ago that my husband would become my CEO, I laughed. I wouldn't have believed them either." She laughed too. "But that's not the biggest surprise." "What is?" "The biggest surprise is that success never changed you." She reached for my hand. "It changed me." I squeezed her hand gently. Sometimes life gives us difficult lessons. The important thing is that we learn from them. She nodded. "And I finally have." As we continued walking, I realized that forgiveness isn't about forgetting the past. It's about giving the future a chance. And for the first time in years, our future looked brighter than ever. My wife said I was worthless. Then she found out I was her new CEO. Love, respect, and a new beginning. 1 year later, life looked completely different. Orion Technologies had become one of the fastest growing companies in the country. We had opened new offices, hired hundreds of talented employees, and launched projects that helped thousands of businesses. People often asked me the same question. "Mr. Parker, what's the secret behind your success?" I always smiled before answering. It's not about having the smartest person in the room. It's about building a team where everyone feels valued. That philosophy had transformed our company, but it had also transformed my marriage. Olivia was no longer the person she had once been. She greeted every employee with kindness. She stayed late to help new team members. She gave credit to others instead of seeking attention for herself. The woman who had once measured success by titles had learned that character was far more important. One afternoon, I overheard 2 new employees talking in the hallway. "I heard she's married to the CEO." "Really? You'd never guess. She treats everyone the same." I smiled quietly and kept walking. That was the greatest compliment she could receive. A few weeks later, the board of directors invited me to speak at the company's annual leadership conference. Hundreds of employees, managers, and business partners filled the auditorium. As I stepped onto the stage, I looked around the room. I saw familiar faces. Rachel from the board, my executive team, Olivia sitting in the front row. I smiled. "Good afternoon, everyone." When people see success, they usually see the finish line. They don't see the years of failure. They don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see the moments when quitting feels easier than continuing. The audience listened carefully. I've learned that the strongest people aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who keep moving forward despite failure. The room filled with applause. After the conference ended, several young employees came to thank me. One of them asked, "Mr. Parker, what kept you going when people doubted you?" I thought for a moment before answering. I stopped trying to prove people wrong. I started trying to become the best version of myself. He smiled. "I'll remember that. I hope you do." That evening, Olivia and I drove home together. As we pulled into the driveway, she looked at me and smiled. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. When you became CEO, were you ever tempted to get revenge?" I looked out the window for a moment. Honestly, there were moments when I imagined proving everyone wrong. But then I realized something. What? Revenge may satisfy your pride for a moment. Forgiveness gives you peace for a lifetime. She quietly reached for my hand. "Thank you for choosing love instead of revenge." I smiled. It was the best decision I ever made. A month later, the company launched a new mentorship program for young entrepreneurs. Many of the participants came from difficult backgrounds. Some had been rejected by investors. Others had been told they would never succeed. As I stood before the first group, I saw a younger version of myself in every face. I smiled and said, "If someone tells you that your dream is impossible, don't argue with them. Don't hate them. Just keep working. One day, your results will speak louder than your words ever could." The room erupted into applause. That night, Olivia surprised me with a small framed photograph. It was a picture of us from our first tiny apartment. The furniture was old. The walls were plain. But our smiles were real. She placed it on my desk. I want us to remember where we started. I looked at the picture for a long time. We had so little. She smiled. But we had each other. I nodded. And that's what mattered most. As I looked around my office one last time before leaving for the day, I realized something important. People believed the biggest twist in my story was becoming my wife's CEO. They were wrong. The biggest twist was discovering that success alone couldn't save a relationship. Only respect could. Only forgiveness could. My wife once believed I was worthless because she judged me by my income instead of my character. But when life revealed the truth, she didn't just discover my position. She discovered the man she had overlooked all along. And I discovered that the greatest victory isn't making someone regret doubting you. It's building a life where love, respect, and humility matter more than titles, money, or power. So, if you're chasing a dream today, and the people around you don't believe in you, don't let their doubts become your limits. Stay patient. Stay humble. Keep learning. Keep moving forward. Because one day your actions will tell a story that your words never could. And when that day comes, choose grace over revenge. Choose character over pride. And choose forgiveness whenever your heart is strong enough to give it. Because in the end, that's the kind of success that truly lasts forever. The end.